Okay, so I get a lot of things that happen in the house, but this takes the cake, I feel like. Lately, every time I step in a new room the lights will flicker or sometimes they'll just blow. It doesn't matter if the light were on all day. If I start cleaning or doing something in a room, that's when the lights start freaking out. They'll often do it if I start getting stressed. In fact, they've only done it when I've gotten stressed. But tonight, I was procrastinating on laundry and dishes and decided to play a video game. Yeah, I was getting pretty stressed out by it, and while I was doing that, I heard Sonia, our cat, outside. Seemed normal to me, so I shrugged it off and kept playing. A few minutes later I got extremely sick within a matter of 10 minutes. Guess I hadn't ate much, but my throat started feeling weird. I got a weird headache, extremely nauseous, and overall was shaking pretty bad. Again, shrugged it off and got a bowl of food to hold myself over. As I go back to playing, the lamp behind me starts flickering. As you can probably tell so far, I'd consider myself to be a logical person, so I looked up to see if the kitchen light was also flickering, and all I saw was this figure that I believe was facing towards me. It was literally manifesting itself in front of me with some sort of weird red fiery glow. I don't know how to explain it other than that. I've never seen anything like that ever. But I was absolutely mesmerized and terrified. I decided to literally ignore it and go back to playing my game. It didn't go away, but I figured if it is something I don't understand, then it would be best to ignore the thing instead of entertain whatever it is. I'm asking about this now though because a couple of hours have passed and I would really like to know what I saw since I'm calmed down now. I've had other experiences. The only other two that were comparable to this type of fear was one that appeared in a mirror we had in the hallway. The thing was burnt all over and kept following me through mirrors around the house. I'm not gonna lie, I've taken down all the mirrors or sold them since then. I don't mess around with it anymore. The other one, I was on a video call with a friend of mine, we both saw it. It slowly dropped from the ceiling and then it looked like a huge smoke coming towards my phone. It felt like something ripped through me and my phone and Wi-Fi and everything just shut off when it did. I have no clue if these are connected. I know the house is extremely active in terms of paranormal stuff. I just usually choose not to fuck around and find out. So I ignore it or find some answer, but this one I have no clue. I am well rested. I don't hallucinate or anything like that. I don't know what I saw. Thought that Reddit might be the best place to share what I saw when I was 16. I tried to do my best in school, both in academics and in sport. I never tried drugs or drank like the teenagers around me, and that is why I still can't fathom what it is I saw on the 16th of October 2011. There was a new girl who moved to our school, and we made a good connection. After about 2 months of her moving to my town, I asked her to go to the school dance with me. She said she wasn't into dances and loud music, so I asked her if she would rather want to go on a picnic date with me at the town's harbor. I was happy when she said yes. That night I saw something I will never forget. I can still see it when I close my eyes. After spending about 2 hours together at the harbor that night, I stood up and asked her to dance with me as I played music on my phone on a low volume. When we started dancing, I glanced over her shoulder and saw an incredibly big, neon sphere moving from the left side of the moon, behind it, and moving over to the right side of the moon. This neon green sphere was at least 20 times larger than the moon, if not much more. I was in such a shock I completely turned her around and shouted, "Look!" She saw it too. As clear as can be. We both stared at it for a good 5 to 6 seconds before it disappeared. What was strange was that it seemed like this neon sphere had a type of white gas following it, but only from its left-hand side. I have never seen anything like this again. No mentions anywhere on Google or YouTube from someone who has seen something similar. Is there anyone who could tell me what it could possibly have been? Okay, so it was Monday night, February 10th. My English sucks, by the way. Anyway, I was laying in my bed minding my business, and then suddenly my covers were pulled off me a bit, and then I heard something underneath my bed, and my mattress was suddenly being punched, like someone is panicking and trapped underneath my bed. I have a cat, but he was up on the bed with me, and so was my dog, and I kept the light on for a few minutes before turning it back off, and then I was laying on my back and something kept crawling around my bed, breathing heavily. So I didn't get any sleep that night. In January, by the way, also on the 10th, funny right? But I stayed home from school that day, and I was laying on the couch with Cat. My living room is beside my parents' room, and I heard a bang like something fell in my parents' room, so I'm freaked out. I get up and go to check what it is, and my cat's fuzzed up in front of me, meowing loudly at my dad's side of the bed. I go through the room and check, and nothing has fallen over, everything's normal, except my cat won't step into the room and keeps staring at the corner. He still won't go in. If there's typos, I apologize, I'm just very weirded out. Strange things started happening in my room. Either I have problems with my head, or it's something paranormal. In my parents' house, I live alone, but sometimes I visit them for weekends or holidays. In my room at night, I could hear very loud vibrations from different places, like behind the closet or under the table. No neighbors, but when I asked my family, no one heard them. This is the only strange thing that has happened in the last few months. It started happening badly probably after I drew a pentagram to decorate my room. I'm not a Satanist. Recently I went to bed with my head to the wall, closed my eyes, lay like that for 3 minutes, and heard a quick PSSS behind me. I turned around abruptly and nothing happened. Then the next day I had headphones on and a song was playing that I know well, and I heard the PSSS sound again, but it was longer and in a man's voice. Then that same day I was sitting on my bed with my phone and headphones on, and there was a chair in front of me, and then this chair started moving quickly, without sound. I looked at it and it continued to move. When I blinked, it was no longer moving. I also hear some sounds as if something small was falling or crunching in my room. Today I was sitting working on my laptop and heard something fall on my desk, and when I looked, there were no changes on my desk and everything was in its place. VE heard some stories of dogmen, but I'm not sure if it's the same one I've encountered in the past. When I was younger I used an Ouija board. After this I would see this thing in my house and it would follow me everywhere. It was extremely tall and was furry with very long arms and legs with a dog head. I only really saw it in the dark or for about a second, but when I did it looked to have blood on its fur. My cousin, the one I did the Ouija board, hasn't encountered it, but has heard it. The first time we encountered it together was when we were sleeping in my room and I hear my door open and my little sister's voice say our names. When I look over I see it staring at me, but for some reason I didn't really process what I was seeing and just went back to sleep. Then in the morning I completely forgot about it until my cousin asked if I heard my sister come in my room last night, and I remember what I saw. She didn't look, so she never saw anything. We have also had many times when we heard it saying our names in our family members' voices. One time it was coming from outside our gate in our backyard. At first I thought it was a coincidence, someone had the same name as me and their parents or something was calling for them. Then it gets louder and I look at my cousin and she seems to hear it too. So I ask and she says it sounded like my sister saying her name and not mine. And I decided to run inside with her. As soon as we went inside we hear something like laugh but growl at the same time. We were home alone at this point. It was the most terrifying day ever. So this is going back to 2010-15 YRS. Back I was only 16 years old when this took place. I had a much older boyfriend at the time, who was 19 YRS old. And for privacy issues let's just call him 6, and well, because his name number in numerology ends up being, you guessed it, 6. So a little background, like most 16-year-olds I wasn't living with my mom, and my dad was never in the picture. No, by the time I was 16 I was living with my boyfriend 6, his younger brother, who was my age, and his girlfriend, their mom, and mom's boyfriend. However, the mom and her boyfriend were constantly out most nights partying and whatnot and were just constantly never home. And 6's brother had his girlfriend over but only had her over during the weekends. Remember, we're 16, so we're still in school and have that priority. And brother's girlfriend's parents were strict on having her sleep at her own place during school nights, so 6's brother would go over to her place on school nights. This is a little confusing, but it's all very important to remember. Okay, and so 6, well, of course he's graduated and he already has a full-time job, and it's a graveyard shift, so he wakes up at 10 or 11 p.m. and is off to work between 11:30 p.m. 1 a.m. in the morning. And I was on pretty much the same schedule as him, cause I was doing online classes, so it didn't matter what time of the day or night as long as I just gotten those hours in. Right, so I'd wake up when he would wake up and help him get out the door for work. Sometimes I would stay up and wait for him, or most nights I would go back to sleep and wake up just before he would get home. Anyway, so this night it was just 6 and I. Mom was out with boyfriend, brother was over at girlfriend's or whatever. But it was only 6 and I when we both woke up to his alarm, and that the household would be gone till tomorrow morning. 6 did his usual routine on getting ready for work, made lunch, poured a bowl of cereal, brushed his teeth, got dressed and came and said goodbye to me, but today I wasn't ready to wake up and help him. Sometimes I'd help him pack lunch or pour his cereal, whatever. No, instead I just laid in bed, awake but was comfortable and didn't want to move out of my cocoon wrap state I was in with my blankets. Our bedroom light was on. We had our own bedroom, as each other couple has their own bedroom in the house. Mom and her boyfriend has one room, brother had his own room. Moving on, 6 came into the room and I remember him asking me if I want a movie on as he's holding the remote to the flat screen TV in our room. I tell him, no thank you. So he puts the remote down beside the TV, which is right beside the door. Once you come through the door of our room, the closet is to your left, TV is on your right, and our bed is also on the right side of the room on the opposite side of the room. 6 and I sit in bed for the last 10 minutes before he has to go to work. I remember being slightly tired and just couldn't wait to just close my eyes and go back to rest. Finally 6 kisses my forehead and says he's off. He turns the light off and closes the door behind him. The house was so quiet I heard him closing the front door once he left. I even heard the keys jingle as he locks the door. We had lived in somewhat of a sketchy neighborhood, but it didn't bother me much since Mom was very liked by almost everyone in the neighborhood. So I knew being home alone was safe. We were pretty good at keeping every window locked and secured, and I knew 6 had locked the front door, so it didn't take long for me turn on my side with my back facing the bedroom door and fall back asleep, back into a comfortable state again. I don't know exactly how long I was sleeping for until I felt something heavy pressing into the foot of my bed. As if someone was sitting at my feet on the bed. I recall looking over my shoulder and seeing 6's face with what little street light peering through the window above my bed. 6. I said, I thought you had to work? I questioned, but 6 never answered me. No, in fact he just smiles at me, silently, and very sinister like. It was almost demonic. It almost didn't seem like it was actually him. I turned back around, closing my eyes cause I guess I was too tired at the time and it didn't register confused face right away what I had just seen. Not even seconds go by and I feel someone lying down under the blankets with me. And I feel their arm wrap itself around me, pulling me across the bed as if pulling me closer to cuddle. But I don't feel my backside pressed up against anything or anyone for that matter. I don't exactly grab 6's hand which is placed over my stomach either. I just fall back asleep thinking 6 was just holding me to sleep. The light is peeking through my eyelids now as 6 comes running through the bedroom door, still in his work uniform, startling me to shift to sit up in bed. I'm looking at him as he starts to undress himself. He gives me a morning babe as he's facing the closet starting to undress himself. You slept in your uniform? I questioned. He turns his head, looks up at me. Puzzled, and confused. What? No. Babe, I'm just getting home from work. What are you even talking about? Thinking face, why, you didn't come back home last night and get back into bed holding me till I passed back out? I was nervous now. No, seriously, you're telling me you were at work all night? I said. You could hear the words choking as they came out. Jumping into bed with me now that he's undressed, leaving his uniform on the floor. Yes. Babe, what, did you have a dream of me or something? He says with a smile, his normal smile. But that's when it hit me. His smile last night was different. It wasn't his smile. And no, it wasn't a dream. It all felt too real to be a dream. Like I actually felt someone putting their arm around me and pulling me. I felt it. It couldn't have been a dream. It was all too vivid and real. It just couldn't have been. Can anyone relate or have something similar to them? Does anyone have any thoughts or theories to what happened that night? I have plenty of unexplained experiences, and this is just one of the many. Thanks for reading. This is going to be a short story, but this happened 2 weeks ago now. I'm still confused on what happened and how it happened. I was upstairs in my house curling my hair, listening to music, and trying to get my cat to stop roaming on the bathroom counters. LOL. I can hear my parrot downstairs dancing and going yeah, and 2 minutes later I hear him get excited and say hi multiple times. Then a few seconds later I hear like a loud bang. I get like scared cause I'm upstairs alone, so I grab my phone and video it so I can send it to my friend, and I thought it was like something misplaced or something that could fall easily. Boy, was I wrong. I found out that our cat's scoop for her litter box was on the floor, which is weird because we have it placed like securely above our litter box on a bench kind of, so it can't just fall easily. Something had to have pushed it. The scariest thing is that nobody was on the main floor. Thoughts? So, just sat back down after having something happen a few minutes ago. Went to the break room upstairs and bought something to eat. After coming back downstairs I went out and snuck a few drags of a cigarette, and the cold did its usual number on my bladder. Let's not discuss the number of times I went upstairs previously for my Monster Energy drink addiction. Anyways, get into the bathroom, and as I'm doing my thing I hear breathing. Assuming someone was in one of the stalls, I had a mental chuckle about having to breathe through your mouth because the bathroom stinks so bad. That's when I noticed the bathroom didn't stink at all. When I'm done and go to wash my hands, I notice in the mirror there aren't any shoes in either of the two stalls. Double checking, I finish and dry my hands. Then bent down to look for myself. No shoes at all. Unless someone is crouching on the toilet, there's no one in the bathroom with me. So whose breathing did I hear? Didn't just happen, because for some damn reason I was being told some of my words were violating one of the rules or whatever. Around 10 minutes before this cleared up. Couldn't post or save draft. But close enough for government work, I guess. My roommate and I went outside at night about maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago, and we were laying on our trampoline when we heard strange sounds. We ran back inside. Ever since then we've been hearing tapping on our windows, assuming it was the wind. But my roommate has been hearing my voice and my family's voices calling out to her from outside and asking to be let in. And today, I heard it too. Today she called me in her room at about 4:50 a.m. She said something has messed with her blinds and she felt cold. I checked the room, nothing was wrong. So we went back to sleep. Well, I heard her come up to my door. "Hey, I'm scared, can I come in there with you?" "Yeah sure, let me put my shirt on. Can you open the door and let me in?" "Why can't you just use the key?" Then complete silence. I texted her, "Hey, where did you go? Did you have to go to the bathroom or something?" To which she was confused. She had been in her bed the whole time. We were texting about it when we heard whispers and footsteps in the hall. And something touched my door handle. My handle is metal, and it sounded like a fingernail being dragged across it. I realized I invited it in and told it not to, and prayed and panicked. The noises continued until they finally ended, in the house. My roommate heard tapping on her window again. Does anyone have any explanation for this? None of my family was awake since it's snowy and they don't have to work. I have an audio recording of the tapping, but the community doesn't allow videos, so I am in no way reaching out for physical help or intervention from others. The only thing I can walk away from this with is advice. For the past few months my mom has been speaking of the spirit she calls Clarence. Since this began, her behavior has become increasingly concerning. According to her, he was her husband in a past life and is her spirit guide. She was never aware of Clarence until she purchased a spiritual pendulum. For those unaware of how this works, she asks the spirit yes or no questions, and it will move the pendulum with the movement corresponding to its response, in circles, back and forth, e.g., I believe this was the gateway. This seemed innocent at first. She'd ask silly questions like, is my hair blonde? And it would reply no. Her hair is brown. Things started to take a turn very quickly and it hasn't slowed down since. This was right after my grandmother's passing, so likely around August, September. I believe that if this is genuinely a negative spirit, it is taking advantage of my mother being in a vulnerable state. She started relying on this Clarence to make decisions for her. She began taking hallucinogenic drugs like mushrooms and DMT to strengthen this weird connection she has with it. When doing this, she can supposedly hear it talking to her in her head. She goes about her day consulting it out loud, and supposedly getting a response inside her head. She supposedly dreams of him and can see his apparition. She claims to see orbs as well. Even worse, she considers herself some sort of spiritually enlightened, perhaps because she genuinely thinks she can put her hands on you and ask the spirit to heal you and that he will. Typing this out right now is definitely making me realize even more how crazy this sounds. She circles back every conversation back to the topic. Think like an ADHD kid off their meds, always finding a way to shoehorn their hyperfixation into every possible scenario. That's her. She goes, I know you don't like to hear about Clarence, but it consumes her life every single day. I recently brought this up to a friend of mine. She's 30 and I'm just entering adulthood, but since she is older than me she has more of an experience. I mentioned the healing stuff, to which she laughed, thinking it was more of a hippie thing, but the more I explained she looked very disturbed. She told me something similar happened to her dad, and she made me realize that my mom might be unknowingly under the influence of a demon. This makes me very nervous. My mom has fought her whole life to get herself straight. She struggled a lot as a teen. She became homeless at times while I lived with my grandparents, went through abusive relationships, addiction, etc. Finally, when I was 12 is when she became fully independent and was able to support herself on her own for the first time. I feel like this entity possibly tricking her into a false sense of security so it can have control over her is taking all of that away, and it's genuinely upsetting and worrisome to me. I have no way of leaving home on my own. I have never had a job because my mom has never given me the opportunity to learn how to drive. I am a teen with little to no life skills. Hell, I didn't know how to preheat an oven the other day. Luckily, I met my amazing boyfriend around the time this started happening, so he tries to keep me away from home as much as he can, but he's also a busy guy, so I can't always rely on him to whisk me away from all my problems. Really, all I'm asking is, do I have something to worry about? Could she really be under the influence of a demon, or am I just freaking myself out? I can provide more info if needed. I really just want more of an idea of what could be going on here. Regardless, this behavior is crazy and I don't know what to do. I just need some clarity.
Like, share, subscribe and be sure to check the notification bell. Follow the Atomic Shaman on Twitter at Motel and RV Park. Listen to Paranormal Green Text Stories on Atomic Shaman TTS on YouTube. Catch the live streams of Atomic Shaman Sweat Lodge only on Rumble.